Hello, welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in logical order. Well, getting data from external sources is just a natural. That's why reading text files is so important to a programming language. There are thousands of applications that make their data available as a text file. You can extract data from an Access database as a text file. You can extract data from a spreadsheet as a text file. And that's just two. The list is actually endless. But in order to use data from these applications, you need to know how the data is structured, how it's organized. In many cases, you are given the option for specifying the structure of the data. Behind me, you see a spreadsheet file. It's an Excel file. With Excel, you can extract the data to a text file and specify a delimiter to separate the columns. In this case, I might remove the heading line first. And if I only want some of the columns, I might delete other columns from the file before I do the extraction. When I have what I want, I can use the application, in this case Excel, to extract the data, placing a delimiter of choice between each column. Once the data is extracted, I have a text file with a delimiter between each field in the row. Using your program language, in this case C#, you can read that data and place the data into individual variables, list boxes, and arrays. With that done, your program can use the data just like data entered via a text box. Except you did this in seconds. There was no extensive data entry operation going on. It was all done behind the scenes. You just grabbed the data and away you went. How does your program do all this? Well, that's what this next video is all about. Take a look. We've read a number of files that we created in Notepad. You can also create files in a spreadsheet, which makes it more convenient. The only problem is you've got a number of columns there, and you're going to bring in the data in chunks, basically. For example, if you had a spreadsheet with names in it, you might have the first name in one column, last name in the second column, and something else in the third column. And if you try to read this in, try to create it as a text file so you can read it in, it becomes problematic because the records are separated. What you want to do is you want to try and get these things and be able to parse them into variables that you can actually grab. For example, let's look at this spreadsheet I've got right here. I've got a spreadsheet sitting right here with names on it. Address, city, state, zip, all those kinds of things. If I wanted to read those things in, I'd be reading Daffy Duck with the address, the city, the state, the zip, all in one record. And I wouldn't want that necessarily to come into my variable. I'd like Daffy into a first name variable, Duck into a last name variable, the address into another variable, and so on down the line in order to make this work. Well, in order to do this, you have to save your file as a text delimited file, make one sense, a comma delimited file, you can delimit it by space. You can also create these files in Notepad if you wanted to, but just delimit them. The problem is, when you delimit them, you need to use a little technique that's going to tell the program what the delimiter is so you can parse these things out. We're going to do that. Let's take this file, for example, right here. We're going to save this thing two different ways, and I'm going to show you how to actually grab this and read it into a program so you have your data there. First of all, you want to select the spreadsheet you would like to read. The next thing you want to do is you want to remove that first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, title column that you've got up on top there. You generally don't want that kind of thing. If you do want it, you just leave it there. But if you don't want it, you want to remove it. So do that before you start saving the thing. So once you've got that out of there, you're fine. Then you can actually save it. How do you save it? Well, you can also delimit any columns you want to get rid of. And I did this two different ways. I saved the file like this, so I had all of the fields in this file saved to a file, and I also deleted the address through the zip. So I just kept the first and last name and created a file that looks something like this. So I can bring that in. That's the first one I'll read in, so you kind of see it. We can simplify how the process works. One thing, once you have these things in this position, then you need to save it as a delimited file. And that's simple. If you're using a spreadsheet, just save it as a text delimited file, a comma delimited file, semicolons, whatever you want to do. Just pop big text in here. So I'm using a tab delimited file to actually do this. And it gets saved as that. And I like to put this in my /bin/debug folder. But you don't have to. You can put it anywhere you want, but then you've got to navigate to that file when you want to get it. I put it into the /bin/debug folder just so it's there. And I don't have to mess around when I start reading my files. It's going to expect it in that particular holding area. Once you have that file saved as a text delimited file, it might look like this. And you can see it's a little bit, yeah, Daffy Duck looks okay, Elmer Fudd looks fine, Yosemite Sam, you can just split out a little bit. There's a little bit more of a tab there. So it's not going to read well if you try to do this. There's things we can do with parsing later that you'll learn when we learn how to work with string files, but this technique is going to do a good job for us. The other file I think looks like this, and you can see it's kind of scattered away. So there's that tab is the thing we want to remove and get rid of. So we're going to use something called tokenizing strings to do this kind of thing. And tokenizing strings means to break a string down to smaller string components, which are tokens. In C#, the split method is a part of the string object. It tokenizes the content of a string. And there's a character that separates the tokens. It's known as a delimiter. And you have to tell the program that you're using a tab as a delimiter. And when you break down the string, it's known as tokenizing. You use something called a split then. In fact, what you're looking at right here is using the split method to pass the character array. And we're using arrays here. If you haven't had any experience with arrays, this might be a little strange, but it's not that difficult. You can certainly use that without having a great knowledge of arrays. And you'll get more into this as we get into arrays. But using we're going to pass into a character array as an argument where elements of the character array are used as a delimiter. In the first line, we're going to create a string to tokenize. We're setting up a string as the string is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are separated by semicolons. We'd like to pull those out because if we read that string in right now, that string just has 1 semicolon 2, semicolon 3, semicolon 4 in it. We'd like to parse that out and grab 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we do that by creating an array of delimiters. So we set up a character array and we say the delimiter is going to be the semicolon. So that's what we're telling it right now. Then we use what's called the split. That's going to actually have it working. In line 8, you can take a look, and we're creating a string array called tokens. And it's going to be equal to the string split delim. So what's going to happen, it's going to take the tokens and it's going to put a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 after it as it creates the number of pieces it needs. And in this case, it's going to create 4. It's going to create tokens 0, tokens 1, tokens 3, and tokens 4. And it's going to apply 1, 2, 3, and 4 strings into them to make it actually work. Sounds a little strange, doesn't it? Yeah, we're going to see this happen in a real program. You can always use white space. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 split up by white space. And we set up the string array called tokens by saying string split on a null. So every time it encounters a null, it'll take the piece that it's found so far and put it into an array as element 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the second example, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 with the semicolons. We're using the split array, using a semicolon as a split. And we're going to use tabs in our case right here. So let's take a look at this. I put together a program. Well, I haven't put it together yet. We're going to put it together ourselves right now. But I have put the form on, and I put the exit button on there so it actually works. And what I want to do right now is I want to design this form so that we have all the pieces we're going to need. I'm going to set this up 2 ways. I want to read the file that has all the cartoon information, name, last name, first name, city, state, zip, all that kind of stuff on there. We're also going to read it with just the first name and then the last name. So I saved both of those in there. They're both sitting in this bin folder, bin debug folder that we have out here. In fact, let me jump to it. I can show you where it is right now. Go into the bin folder. Go into the debug folder. And there's my cartoon names only. That's the first and last name. And I got cartoon names.txt, which has all 5 or 6 columns in it. What we're going to do now is we're going to basically set up a program to do all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this button right here, and I'm going to make a copy of it. And I'm going to make 3 copies of it. I'm going to call something like this, and something like this. And what I'm going to do with this first one is I'm going to call this one process 1. and we'll give it that name up here, btn process, btn process 1. And this is going to become process 2, btn process 2. And we'll give that guy his name down here. And this one's going to be a clear button. So we're going to have a clear in here, and we're going to put button clear up here. That's all I'm going to use for this thing. And then we're all set to go. I'll line these up in a bit. What I want to do right now is I want to grab some list boxes. So we're going to go to our common controls here, and we're going to pull down a list box. And the first one I'm going to put down here, I'm going to call list box LBX first for first name. So LBX first. And there it is. I'm going to set the fonts on it right away, because I'm going to do a lot of copying and pasting here. Give this guy a 12 on here, and we're done here. And then we're going to kind of shrink it down a little bit. Doesn't need to be real big. Pull it down about here, and maybe even make it a little bit longer. We've got a number of cartoon characters to read. Then I'm going to go ahead and do a Control-C, and I'm going to create 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to kind of parse them out over here. And lay them out as best I can. We might have to make this form a little bit larger as well. This is going to be LBX last. It's going to contain the last name. This one's going to contain LBX address. This one's going to contain LBX city. This one's going to contain LBX state. And this one's going to contain LBX zip code. And then they're all set right there. Now I'm going to also create a label. Bring that up here. And I'm going to say on here, I'm going to say first. And I'm going to change that font to bold and a 12. And I want to size these. So I'm turning the auto size off on this thing and then place it right about here. I think I'm going to widen this a little bit right now. I'm going to take this form just a little bit wider because I do want to make my address a little larger because it's going to contain a bigger field. And I probably want to shrink my state down to something a little smaller. And zip might not need to be that big either. I kind of bring this down. I'm going to go ahead and grab all these guys here, and I'm going to align their tops. I'm going to horizontal space I'm going to make equal. So now they're kind of even in there. And I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. Do I want to tighten it up a little bit? Maybe so. Decrease a little bit. That's not too bad. Okay. That's not too bad at all. And I'm going to take this label that I've got right up here, and I'm going to actually grab it. This should say actually first and with a capital F. We'll change that. They don't need to be labeled in code, so I'm not going to worry about changing anything else on here. What I'm going to do, though, I want to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more of these guys by copying him. So I'll do a Control-C and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and get some of these guys out here. And lay it over here, and lay one 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 over here, and maybe one more that I'm going to actually put up here and call how to read a tab delimited file. I'll lay that up in here, and we'll have to actually take this thing and we'll take this guy right now, and we will shrink him down. Well, I don't know what I want to do. I want to actually take him and make it centered. And now it's centered on there. And now I can actually center this thing on the form. I want to grab all these guys and align their tops. I also want to take this guy and first let's just put some names in here. Let's get this, make this guy. Oh, yes, the thing I want to do is I want to actually center these guys so they're kind of one of the tops and the middle center piece here, so they're centered out. That worked okay, good. Now what I want to do is I want to take this one here and call it last. For name, this one will be called address. This one is going to be called city. This one is going to be called state. And this one is going to be called first, or zip. And we got it all set now. Now I'll take this one and format, make same size width, and align their centers. Same thing with this one. Format, make same size width, and align the centers. Make this one the same width. Format, align centers. This one, make same size width, align centers. This one and this one, make same size width, align centers. And finally, this guy right here, make same size width and align centers. And there we go, looking pretty good here. We can bring these down by just highlighting them all and just taking them down like this, and that looks pretty decent. We can now take our buttons here and align them. Format, horizontal spacing, make equal. Looks pretty good. And format, align their tops. Looks good. Now we're going to take this guy and align him with the format, align the right. And this guy we're going to align with the left. Oh, actually, I've got to need to center this on the form. Much better. Now we can align this guy properly. Align is right. We're going to format and align the left. The two that are left, these guys, we're simply going to center on form, and they pop in right in there. So we want to save our process here. Save all. Let's run it, see if it works so far. So we didn't do anything crazy. Get rid of the watch file right now. We don't need that. There's our program. Looks fine. Nothing works except the exit button, but it looks like that's what we want to have in here. So that's good. We're good to go. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and set up the clear button real quickly. And that's got all these list boxes in here. So I'm going to go into the clear button. And I'm going to clear all list boxes. And I'm going to do that by saying LBX, and we'll go with the first, items.items.clear. There it is. LBX last, we're going to clear him. LBX address, items clear. LBX city, items clear. LBX state, and LBX zip, and that's clear to go. So those will all work. We can do a file save, make sure nothing's screwed up there. Our clear button doesn't error out on us, so that looks like it's good. Next thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and read that file. So we're going to go process one. We're just going to read the last and first names of our files that we're looking for there. So I'll double click on process one and bring that up. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start out with a try statement. Try. And I'm going to put in my braces. And I'm going to go right down here and put in my catch. Which is going to be a catch exception.ex. And that looks good. I'm going to say my message box dot show is going to be ex dot message. And so that takes care of any errors we might have in the processing of the file. Getting in there. So now we can work on our try piece on this thing. Let's get rid of our toolbox. We don't need that anymore. What we're going to do here is we're going to start our stream writer. So stream reader is input file. And that's going to activate stream reader. Put it right up here. Activate stream reader. Before I do that, I want to go up above here and I want to actually create a variable. So I'm going to set a variable called string str full record. This is going to bring in, or it's going to read in, or this is with a holding area for the entire last name, first name, the whole address, if we're going to bring it all in as one variable. So this is going to be our holds full record. And that's what we're going to parse out using our tokens when we get to that thing. So back down to the stream right here, we're going to set up another character array at this point in time. char, telling it it's an array, and we're going to say we want to set up something called delim for delimiter. And we'll make it equal to \t, which is our tab key. Notice the single quotes I'm putting around it, and establishing that right here. So that sets up a delimiter array of characters. Create delimiter array, and that'll just hold. That'll be the way we're going to be setting this thing up. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop down a little bit and say our input file is equal to file.openText, and we're going to say we'd like to create. This thing always screws up me when I do this. I want to open file, text file, cartoon names only.txt. This is our tab delimiter file with just the first and last names in it. So we're going to say open file. And then we're going to do a while. While not input file end of stream. And we can set up our braces to do our processing. What we're going to do is we're going to say our str full record is equal to input file read line. This reads that entire line into str full record. So now it has the thing. Reads one full record. Then we're going to take our string. We're going to create a string array called tokens and equal that to str full record split on the delimiter. So what's going to happen here, depending upon how many times it encounters that delimiter, it's going to create an element 0, an element 1, an element 2, an element 3, and so on down the line. In our first case here with the cartoon names only, it's going to create an element 0 and an element 1, because just the first and last name are going to be read into this file. So just two things will be there. So I can simply take those things now that I have them, and I can say lbx first, the first name, dot items dot add is going to be equal to, or tokens 0, and this pulls element 0, and lbx last dot items dot add tokens 1, and that's all I need to do. I'll do a file save on this, and if I didn't do something crazy, this should work. We'll bring it up. There's our program. Let's try it and see what happens. Bang. It takes in the first and last name of the elements from that cartoon file. Now, what if we wanted to use the entire file? Well, we save that too. We save that as cartoon names. So let's go ahead and let's clear this. We can see that works. Get rid of our exit here. And all we have to do here is go in here to our design, Click on Process 2. And to save ourselves a ton of time, we can copy all this. And set up the same code down here with slight differences. This time we'll say cartoons only. Cartoon names, I should say. And we're going to, everything else is right. First record, delim. I think we're looking good here. All we need to do then is actually bring the rest of the stuff in. So LBX, address, dot items. Oops, address. Dot items. Dot add. It's going to add tokens 2. That pulls element 2. LBX city. Dot items add tokens 3. LBX state. Token 4. LBX zip. Token 5. And that's all we need to do there. And this now should work too, unless I did something crazy. We got the cartoon names in here, everything else looking good. Looks like it's going to be there. So we'll do a file save. We'll do a start. Now we got those 2 files we're going to be reading here. So here comes our program. Let's read the process 1. That works just fine. Let's clear it. Let's do process 2. Brings in everything else. So the entire file is there. So you can read a text file by simply saving as a delimited file of some kind. Tab delimited works just fine. Semicolon works good too. And then using a little process, which really involves arrays, to make this happen. You're setting up that character array for the tokens, and then you're actually doing a split right here with the delimiter that you've created up here to actually create that. And you're creating a string array of tokens. So you get this element token 0, token 1, token 2, token 3, which all have those pieces in it, and puts it right into the fields that you need. I happen to use list boxes here to do this. This is not the best thing in the world, because obviously there's not much you can do with them. Process 2. Yes, these are all in line, but if you started rotating or going down one of these things, they're not going to stay in sync. However, you would have the index, so you could actually find the other pieces if you needed it. So it's not a bad way to work. So that's really how to read a tab delimited file and make this thing work. I think you can already see the possibilities for this sort of action. Wow, I can pull data from a database. Or I can take all those spreadsheets and create a dynamic program using the data. What a savings of time. As we learn more, you'll see me pull data from other sources often. So keep checking these videos out. There are tons more to come. For now, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, and don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. If you get a chance, please subscribe. That way, you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.